Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So anyway, I'm calling from Miami. You've got a great background. Where the heck are you?
Well, physically, I'm in Waukegan, Illinois, so
Okay.
a far north suburb of Chicago. But this image is actually from the Olympic National Forest from a backpacking trip that I did there. So,
Take me with you,
yeah,
man. That is
yeah,
it's just looks so good.
yeah. What I remember most significantly about this is I was with my daughter who had just turned 13, and we sat here for lunch just like looking out over this, and it was awesome.
What is what's amazing about that background is as I am on a few calls, it's always interesting to see the the authentic backgrounds that people use or how to do it. For me, I wanted to build a studio because I personally just don't like people looking into my house. Like to me, I remember, we all remember like during COVID where the newscasters were broadcasting from their homes. And I would always look at it and be like, how is that TV so old? This is like a newscaster. How doesn't he just have like a rimless, Samsung TV? It's just upsetting looking at people's homes. Did you do the same thing, looking at people's homes and being like appalled?
Yeah, there was some, yes, and then there was some where they clearly like set up their background. That like they got all the books like set up and all that sort of stuff, and I was just like, yeah, I don't have time for that. I'm just gonna put up a lovely background.
No, I think so true. It's like, let me put my picture of Obama over here. Let me put my picture of the Supreme Court over here. Let me put the book of like whatever, like we're reading. That is
Yep.
very funny. Yeah, I get that. I'm just like, don't look at my house. I like my house. I just don't know you. Don't come into my house. That's how I look at it. Um,
Yep.
so, Finney, so much of the show has always been about authentic and empathy about COVID. And now I'm starting to do business travel. I'm starting to meet people. I'm starting to get back on the road. Um, I'm rusty. Oh boy, am I rusty.
Mhm.
Have you traveled yet? Like, where are you? What's going on with, like, let's get into, again, this is the
Yeah.
standard with Dan, and I want to get into the part of like, are you traveling? Like, are you vaccinated? Give me everything. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, yeah. So, not really, not really traveling for work yet. There's still like, is it the places that I would most want to travel to would be Bengaluru, and that's a pretty hard ask
Okay.
to do right now. Um, we did actually just have a really great, office party for our latest round of funding. So like, we announced that we got a Series D funding and then got together as a group in downtown Chicago on the waterfront. So that was really great. And just like so many people were saying like, wow, like this is what it's like to, connect with people like one-on-one, have those handshakes, have those hugs, like talk to each other, face to face. And what's really amazing is we've been hiring throughout this whole time too. And so there's been people, it's like, I've only ever seen you on Zoom. Hey, here you are. And that sort of stuff. So that's been really cool.
What's
Yeah.
interesting is I had my first trip this week, and the people I met, all, not all, but most of them showed up in shorts and t-shirts, and it was also surreal. Like it was
Yeah.
a very like because they came so casual, the meeting was more enjoyable because the meeting was just ended up being casual, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize what happens when you put a suit and tie on. It changes a lot. So when you met everybody, were people in grown-up clothes or were they in shorts and tees?
Yeah. So it was definitely a mix. Like me personally, like I don't, I'm not like a big dress up person. Like, I'm, t-shirt, shorts type of person. That's what I showed up in. Actually, I had like a hoodie with some, G2 logo on it and whatnot. But there was definitely people that, dressed up. It's I mean, it is a party, so it's kind of an occasion too. So I get it.
But it doesn't seem like, wow, it's the first time I'm meeting the team. I should get my haircut and get dressed and put on a new shirt. It's just a different world, and there's no wrong. It's just a different world.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
what we're seeing. It's quite incredible. And as far as you know, like you said, congratulations on the raise. That's, you know, I mean, you're setting yourself for greatness. You're in rarefied air. Um, what has been that journey like for you, seeing and being here, you know, as long as you have, and going through the different fundraising? Like, what is it
yeah.
like? Because most people don't get to experience that.
Yeah, it's true. You know, like everything, like when people like view it from the outside, a lot of times we'll see it's like, oh wow, you know, you just showed up out of nowhere type of stuff, and wow, there's just like there's so much work that goes into it. You know, I mean, there was multiple years between our you know, fundraising and whatnot, and like I remember the first one that I was there for, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. You know, it's like we feel like, you know, we're there, we made it, like we've done everything right, and now we're just gonna go like accelerate. And we tried that, and it's like, holy cow, this is still really hard. You know, there's still markets that we need to understand, and like working through that, and then just building the team. Like I feel like there's not been a time that I've been at G2 that I haven't thought around like, how am I going to staff this team? Like, you know, what kind of recruiting do I need to have? Like, what kind of, you know, footprint in the market do I need to create in order to make people see just how great G2 is? And then, you know, just seeing like ups and downs in our market, and then working through that, all of our challenges, and really like coming around, like being mindful with everyone, being transparent with everyone, and like really getting everybody aligned to a shared vision, a shared goal, has really been an accelerator for us to be able to get to this next.
I think you bring up, you're crazy for taking the job, and then everyone's like, oh, how did you get so lucky to get the job? Right?
Yes.
You get through that, and you're right. These milestones and metrics are not easy. The staffing is well said. The competition. You know, how many times you wake up to an email of your friends, hey, do these guys compete with you? You're like, yes, I know my space. You don't have to email me. Like, it's I'm pissed we're not in the article. Like, I know. Like, how do we get those also? It's like, yeah, I get it. I think for me, what I've seen during COVID is the speed at which the bigger, well-funded companies, let's call it who they are, like the Microsofts, the Amazon, Facebook,
Yeah.
at which they're copying features. I feel like since everybody is home, what I'm seeing deployed is impressive and at a speed I couldn't believe. I mean, if you look at what Microsoft Teams is today versus it was a year ago, it's incredible. And Zoom is doing everything they can just to keep up, but I don't, are you seeing the same thing in your space, that the amount of shipping that's being done by your competitors is quite impressive?
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting, like even just knowing those markets because of work from home, like they needed to invest there. What is interesting is we're actually in a not as increased space, but an increased space, because as people were needing more tools to be able to use for their remote work, like they needed to research. And so like they had to come to G2. Like we saw so much more traffic of people like doing research and whatnot. And so like that, you know, made a catalyst for us, like, okay, so well, we got to capture the traffic well, we got to like, you know, serve our customers well, and like building features around that. And like obviously our competition is seeing the same thing, building a lot of the same things, and challenging our market share as well. And so like definitely seeing a lot of competition in our space, but also just like I've always felt that is the time that you take and reflect and like find, okay, so why do we exist, and like why is it that we should be there in front of people, and like I feel like we're making a good message there.
Okay. And it's like you said, it's moving super fast on this, and it's always it's like what we build now, and the decisions we make now, especially in the early stage or mid, you know, let's call it AB stage. It's you're going to look back at 6 months and just wish you got the time back, because it's really not about the money. It's, gosh, I wish we overbuilt that, or we didn't pay attention to this, or we built it this way, and gosh, like, it's such an easy feature, but it's like a little bit harder to build. What I've heard also just in this riff is, because of how many engineers are home during shelter in place, the amount of seed pitch decks that are going out are like 10x. So people are not even leaving their jobs. They're like, hi, I'm still an engineer at Morgan Stanley, but here's an idea that me and my 5 Morgan Stanley friends did. If you give us money, we'll leave. So I'm meeting all these VCs saying, like, the deal flow they're getting, I'm not saying they're good deals, but it's just amazing about every engineer is not only just working for you, but they're working on their own idea. But they're not committed yet enough to like leave their company. But hey, if you give me like $500,000, I will. Are you seeing that with your friends? Everyone's trying to spin up a startup?
Not everyone. There's been like even just a handful of people I talked to yesterday. They had started companies in the last like 3 months and whatnot, and it really is. Even even beyond that, like, I think people have like taken that time that they've like gotten back either from commute or whatever, and they've started to reflect on like, what do I really want to do? Like, what impact do I really want to make in the world? And like they're taking that initiative because they have that extra time, which some of it's great. Like, hey, we're going to get a whole lot of new products and ideas out in the face, and some of it is, well, hopefully at least like 2% of them make it. And we'll see something out of it.
It's well said. I had someone call me and he said a similar thing, and I said, oh, that's a feature, and I would not quit your day job. I mean, I know it seems like it's important to you, but it's such a small corner case that I think that's the other part of, like, you're seeing it where you are as a company where it's a multi-billion-dollar problem. So if you're solving a 20 million, 30, $50 million problem, I know that sounds like a lot. It's like you're not even in the right area to get money. So I see that as well. And I think that the next thing is what you're seeing as just raising and being on that team are places where you guessed right. Is there anything publicly you can share that where like you had that decision and you're like, let's go into that market? But looking back now, it seems like a no-brainer, but there was a heated conversation to go with that feature or that market, or maybe not heated is the right word, but can you look back and share any features or stories like that you're looking back now, you're a hero, but then it wasn't that obvious?
That's a good question. There's not something that's like immediately jumping out to me. I know that there have been a number of what I would call strategic investments that we've made. Some of it more around the way that we kind of like our data and whatnot. So we have this offering where we're actually starting to share some of our data with investors, and it's like they're always like on the lookout. It's like, what in the market of data can we use to help us understand like whether our portfolio is doing well, right? And we definitely made a conscious choice to invest a little bit more there, like, before we really have like a dedicated team to it, and like try to do what we can to like see what happens. And like, I feel like that market has really gone well. We've learned a ton from it, and I feel like we're going to continue to invest there. And I think, beyond that, like, every company struggles with their own innovator's dilemma. And I feel like, one of the things that we're pushing well there is like just trying to find those areas where we can be smallly innovative and like find the right percentage of, investment and time that we're gonna do there, and we're gonna continue going on that forward.
I think that's smart. I think those are like the best startup stories, when they have one where it's just like, it was a fluke. Like, we didn't get that today. You guys are that good. I mean, you guys are so good that there's, I'm just kidding. But, talking about, everyone's like, yeah, we weren't expecting it. Next thing you know. I think like the top right on that one is like supposedly, right? I don't know, like I wasn't there, but like the whole AWS birthing of AWS was like, hey, why don't we're just at Amazon? We need a couple of servers. We built it as a place just to survive. And next thing you know, it's like we're powering the world. I mean, to me, that is like the most insane top right. But
Yeah.
I wish we all had those problems where it's our small group started something. Next thing you know, it's like it's like the lifeline of our. It's insane. I was listening to a podcast and they talked about Microsoft getting into Xbox, right, into gaming, and they said there was a meeting that Bill Gates and Ballmer were in, and someone in the meeting was telling the story, and they were saying, well, what are we going to do about Sony? Sony's starting to do more in the house. Sony's starting to do more of this, more of this. I think Sony can be a competitor in 5 years. And then Bill Gates was like, I never thought of that. I approve whatever you need to start a game. Like, it's just like weird things of like someone was just thinking in a few years, Sony could own the home because they have the workstation, they have this. And then they're like, next thing you know, Bill Gates is like, you have my support, do it. I'm just repeating what this person said who's in the meeting.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like we want to create games. It was like, we want to protect us from Sony. So let's like sick. More money than God. Like,
yeah, they're good.
Isn't that crazy? It was like, and think about how hot the Xbox is now as a console.
Yeah.
But it started as just, we got to not lose share to Sony.
Yeah.
And
and sometimes innovation comes out of that, right? It's like, the competition can, tell you what market you're missing out on, right? And that can be helpful. And it's basically, you just got to have the team that is willing to discover, like, what is the actual challenge, and put in the effort there.
It's either challenge or threat. Like the big opportunity, like, if we don't do this, they're coming after us. Like, we just know it. So Dan, this was super cool. So Dan, you want to just tell us maybe like if you want to plug any services? Is there anything like people can download or look at? Just to, you're at a great company. You want to plug maybe how to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, like we serve many personas, right? So it's like, we look at it from really like a buyer side and a seller side. And so like, from thinking about it from, if you're going to purchase software and you're not looking at what the industry is saying around those solutions and whatnot, like you just shouldn't, like, go research, do that investigation, and you'll be able to do all of that on G2. Once you do make that purchase, like, make sure you track the spend of that, because like over time, like, companies end up with many hundreds of tools, many hundreds of SaaS tools, and like be able to track that spend over time, figure out like whether it's even working for you. Like, that is extremely important for your company, like, to be effective. And then, if you're selling software, like, connect with your brand and like your customer voice, like use G2 in order to do that. Like, we're able to, give you the right review information, show how you rank against your competitors, and like tell you, what companies are researching what, and it's like help you understand your market and connect with them. So that's kind of like high level of what our services are. So,
you're giving us gold, and thank you. And I think there's so much for people that are at any stage, the big stage, the small stage, buyers, the sellers. I love the two-sided market, and I love that you guys are the leaders in that. So Dan, thank you for being on the Data Standard. We are sponsored by Pandio. They're pushing out a new tool called Pandio ML, and I'm going to connect you with them as well, because they should also understand how they stack up to the market. So there will be an intro coming as well. So thank you for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Darren.
And